say such a thing in public and then talk about attacks from Russia on our civil society is a childish prank, then I can say very clearly, we know you from Dusseldorf, and of course the people didn't want you for mayor anymore. They didn't have any desire to have it.
Stefanuta, you have the floor for 1 minute, please.
We've seen an extraordinary thing in the plenary today. Mrs. Teodorescu from our party showed a very brave dissidence to her party. She voted in Romanian parliament. They voted against removing the drones, but today she showed courage and conviction. This is ironic, but the situation is very serious because we've seen drones over Romanian skies over 2 years ago. And now we have one almost monthly and perhaps weekly, daily, such drones. Is it normal that Romanians living in Dobruja and in this eastern part of the country, is it normal that they're always afraid? And I know that we need defense capabilities, we need anti-drone capacities and a European approach to respond to this bullying from Russia. But moreover, I think we need cure for fear, because people are afraid and they don't know what's happening. So we need to be open about it, and we need to take our responsibility, such as Mrs. Teodorescu did today. Thank you.
Now ask Mr. Zoido Alvarez to take the floor for 1 minute, please.
Gracias, Presidenta.
Thank you, Madam President. Russian drones are back in European airspace in a new member state. It's the Netherlands' turn now, after Poland, Romania, Germany, Denmark, Belgium. The list is growing day by day, sadly. So we need urgent anti-drone systems in Europe. Technologically functional and affordable. F-35s, F-16s, helicopters and missiles were present in Poland. The value of that was tens of millions of dollars to try to take down 19 Russian drones that just cost $20,000. So you can see there that our enemy's kit is too cheap and our response is too expensive, and they're sending more and more drones. We're seeing 3 to 4 million units being produced per year in Russia. So time is against us. We cannot afford to waste another minute.
Mr. Zoido Alvarez, you have a blue card from Mr. Grazoulis. Do you wish to take it? No? Then we'll go to Mr. Negrescu. You have 1 minute. Thank you very much.
Dear colleagues, in October this year, through a resolution that we adopted, we warned that hybrid attacks against the European Union shall be escalated. We requested a common reaction from the EU and NATO. Unfortunately, what we identified as a risk has turned into a reality. A few days ago, a Russian drone hit a border crossing point in Romania. Other drones have penetrated the Romanian airspace, and people are living under permanent alert. Other EU countries have similar experiences. The resilience of the whole Union is being tested. We suggested to create an anti-drone shield and a Black Sea security facility, which is essential for the protection of our southeastern flank. I request a very clear deadline from the Commission on these efforts. And given our position, I want Romania to be a pilot point for the implementation of the European defense strategy. Our message must be unequivocal. Not a square centimeter of European airspace can be breached without consequences. The safety of European citizens cannot wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wasik. You have 1 minute, please.
Madam President, Commissioner, there is no doubt that the responsibility for the acts of sabotage in Poland and in the EU goes to Russia and Belarus. In order to counter those threats, the member states need strong intelligence services equipped in all the instruments that allow them to react and to prevent sabotage. And I'm addressing those of you who were irrational enough to attack member states and their intelligence services for having used the Pegasus software. The so-called Pegasus scandal is basically an operation orchestrated by the Kremlin in order to create chaos and to weaken European intelligence services. When those services are blind and deaf, the Kremlin agents can enter Poland, blow up whatever, and go back to Belarus unperturbed. I'm addressing also those of you who have attacked Poland for having arrested Pablo Gonzalez, a Russian spy operating among the European elites. You were using Commissioner Reinders embroiled in a scandal around dirty money, maybe even Russian money, to attack Poland for our attempts to fight Russian spies. So the impunity and the freedom with which the Putin agents are operating right now is your fault.
You have two blue cards, actually, one from Mr. Kohut and one from Mrs. Scheuring-Wilgus. You don't wish to take them, thank you. Mevrouw Hilde Voutmans.
Hilde Voutmans, you have 1 minute, please. Thank you very much, Madam President. Colleagues, not a day goes by without Russian drones violating European airspace, in Belgium as well. And that is a deliberate strategy by the Kremlin. With minimum effort, they are disrupting our society and frightening our citizens. And above all, they're seeking to sap our support for Ukraine. It's clear, colleagues, that Member States and the Commission must react much faster. Get to work on the drone gap. We have expertise. Look at the companies where we have expertise. Make sure that the drone wall can already be there by next year under a European command with cross-border detection and jamming. Will this cost money? Of course, but it will be a fraction of the cost that the cost of the military aircraft that have to shoot these drones down now. So we need to do more in our defence budget, and we need to work together with Ukraine. Colleagues, every euro that we save today with our counter-drone capacity will be paid back twice over in future. Thank you.
Mr. De Meo, please take the floor. You have 1 minute.
Grazie, Presidente.
Thank you, Madam President. We're seeing frequent violations of airspace and European infrastructure too, making it patently clear that we're faced with hybrid warfare. They're trying to spread fear, and they're trying to show that Europe and NATO is poorly equipped to respond. So we need to be united. We need to ensure our defence readiness. It's only by having a stronger Europe that we'll be able to defend European interests and be a credible actor on the world stage. An anti-drone wall and having surveillance on our eastern flank is absolutely vital to deal with the threats that our citizens and skies face. We need collaboration with NATO, which is a key cornerstone of our defence. If we want peace and security in Europe, then we cannot fail our historic duty now, our obligation to the whole of the EU.
I will now ask Mr. Danielson to come for 1 minute, please.
Fru talman.
Madam Vice President, drones are destroying critical infrastructure in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden and Denmark. And we see these air balloons that force Lithuania and Latvia to close their borders. And we also see the sabotage against rail in Poland, something used every day for people to get to work and to visit their friends. So this is an attempt to really upset our reality. And our response has to be immediate and united. We stand in solidarity with those countries which are affected and against Russia and Belarus's actions. We have to invest better more intelligently in infrastructure and defense. But we have to dare to stand up and support Ukraine. We have to ensure that the fight for Ukrainian self-determination is a fight for self-determination freedom for all of Europe. Thank you.
Mr. Barna, you have 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Just days ago, we saw Russian aggression directly endanger our citizens and our critical infrastructure. The drone strike on a gas tanker on the Danube forced the evacuation of Romanian villages. This act of brazen economic sabotage is not an isolated incident. It is part of a continuous hostile pattern of airspace violations and hybrid warfare originating from Russia. Romanian air defense systems were activated multiple times near the border, scrambling jets to monitor threats. These are not mistakes. They are deliberate, reckless provocations designated to test our resolve and wear down our defense. When will we stop reacting and start deterring? We must move beyond condemnation. I call on this Parliament, the Commission, the Council, to adopt a robust and unequivocal response to these continuous violations. We need a faster, more effective joint mechanism to secure our skies and our critical ports, energy and communication infrastructure. It is time to move decisively of using the seized Russian assets, not just the income, but the principle, to fund the defense and reconstruction of Ukraine. History offers a brutal lesson. Weak response will always invite more aggression.
I'm very sorry. Mr. Ratas, please. You have 1 minute.
Honourable President, dear colleagues, Commissioner, the violence of European airspace and the sabotage of our critical infrastructure are no longer isolated incidents. They form a growing pattern as Russia and Belarus test Europe's readiness, unity and resilience. We all recognise that the drone is no longer a harmless device. A single machine can disrupt an electricity line, interrupt communication and disrupt a logistics chain. A device can cost almost nothing, can trigger damage worth millions where critical infrastructure must be repaired or rebuilt. Military drones have become a tool for killing innocent people. EU's response cannot rely on diplomatic protest alone and must include concrete measures such as coordinated air defence actions and real-time intelligence sharing. Every violation, whether a military jet crossing borders or any other disruption traced back to Russia or Belarus, is an attack on shared European security, not just the individual member states. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kuzinina. You have 1 minute, please.
Dear Chair, our airspace is violated. Our borders are probed, our cables are cut. This is hybrid war. And the aim of a hybrid war is simple: to sow confusion, to weaken trust, and to break the unity of the target before a single bullet is fired. It is outrageous that even within our own union, Putin's useful idiots try to echo his narratives. Dear President, Finland knows the cost of a long border we defend it every day. This is not the time for half measures. This is the time for unity and adequate financing. This is time for action. We must shield our cables, guard our ports, secure our skies. We must protect our people.
Thank you. Mr. Zalimes, you have 1 minute, please.
Dear colleagues, in recent months we have experienced a new wave of hybrid provocations from Belarus and Russia, including air balloon incursions to Lithuania. First, it is important to underline that these actions against Lithuania by Belarus, and here I would like to underline there is no doubt regarding attributability or a breach of at least a duty to prevent, come despite the recent diplomatic efforts of the US to secure political prisoner releases and open channels of dialogue. Lukashenko's behavior makes it clear the regime has no interest in building constructive relations with the West. Second, Lithuania was forced to partially close its border with Belarus in response to these provocations, only to see Belarus retaliate by blocking Lithuanian trucks and refusing to release them even after Lithuania reopened the border. This is an open blackmail and escalation. Third, we must also update our own tools. The Union needs to introduce a new criterion in the Belarus sanction regime that clearly defines hybrid activities as grounds for sanctions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chiswo. You have 1 minute, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, Russia is engaging in acts of terrorism against the democratic world, against NATO and against the EU. My country, Poland, my region are being attacked fiercely. Every day we are defending EU borders, but Russian drones are getting into our space. We have cyber attacks. We have Russian misinformation trying to destabilize our society. Russia's goal is very clear: to dismantle NATO, to bring down the European Union, to do away with our solidarity. We need to act clearly. Our air defense needs modern anti-drones shields. We need to coordinate our actions with NATO. Our best weapon is our unity, European unity. And we have to stand united. All democratic Europeans have to be united, because this is the only thing that Putin is afraid of. And here in this chamber there are people today who are against this. They want to support Russia. Are they deaf? Are they blind? Or are they just serving Putin?
Monsieur Glucksmann.
Mr. Glucksmann, you have 1 minute, please. Madam Commissioner, colleagues, the war of Russia against Europe is taking place in Ukraine, but it's not limited to Ukraine. Years ago, Putin launched a hybrid war against the EU, and the EU's response has been of immense weakness. Since 2022, there have been thousands of Russian attacks registered on the territory of the Union, including France, attacking hospitals, energy suppliers, weapons factories, critical infrastructure. Drones have violated airspace in Estonia, in Poland, in Romania, from Brussels to Copenhagen. Airports have been closed. Urenco, that creates the powder used for French munitions, was flown over also by a Russian drone. This is no coincidence, and we should respond more quickly and in a more coordinated manner. We have to invest massively in our counter-drone capacity and in our cybersecurity. Ukraine is just one step, as Georgia was before. The time has come to take our heads out of the sand and to defend our democracies with more vigour.
Mr. Kelleher, please, you have 1 minute.
Last week, the Russian spy ship Yantar, spotted in the UK waters, was heading to Irish exclusive economic zone. The ship is specifically built for subsurface work and so seen as a threat to undersea cables and energy pipelines. This is the same boat that was escorted from Irish waters last November. It also coincides with the fact that President Zelensky is planning to come into Ireland on the 2nd of December. We have had consistent monitoring of the cables off the southwest coast of Ireland, where some of the largest data flows between Europe and the US flow through our waters. And it is incumbent on the Irish state, our Navy and our defence forces, supported by the European Union, to ensure that we have the capacity to observe in Ireland's exclusive economic zone what is happening both on the water and underwater. With that in mind, we've encouraged the Irish Government to increase spending in defence capabilities and in observation capabilities to ensure that we play our part in making sure that Europe is safe and protected from Russian aggression and from Russian threats of sabotage to critical infrastructure in the European Union.
Thank you. Mrs. Wiesler-Lima, you have 1 minute, please.
If we want to be clear-eyed about it, the Russian Federation's war on Ukraine is a war on us too, on democracy. Russia wants world domination, not just Ukraine domination. And this threat that we perceive on our border leading to soul-searching and existential doubts about the need for self-defense are welcome, because we have to be clear-eyed about these attacks orchestrated from Russia. They are aimed at destabilization. We need security. We're seeing continued violations of our airspace and maritime space. We need to recognize that danger coming from Russia. Otherwise, it would be an abdication of our responsibilities as elected representatives. We need to recognize the danger and act against it, because these are attacks on the EU and on democracy. Solidarity with Poland. Poland responds with determination to the sabotage that it faced. We need to have a common front, and we need to build common European defence. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Mr. Tomac, you have 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Chair, Vice President. After annexing Crimea, Putin said he would not touch Ukraine. But for almost 4 years now, he's been waging an absurd war that led to millions of victims. We all thought that Putin would stop with this absurd war, but we are today debating about Russia's provocations against the EU. A few days ago, we had a drone attack in one of the only points that are connected Ukraine to the EU, in Isakcha-Olivka. So Putin is moving on. That is why it is essential that we push for more sanctions, because this criminal in Kremlin only understands pressure, and the sanctions are the measure by which we have to force Russia to stop this criminal war against Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koller. You have 1 minute, please.
Thank you very much. When we speak about hybrid warfare, hybrid actions, many people say that they don't exist, that it's some kind of surreal thing. But during the past 20 years, Europe has experienced a series of covert attacks on infrastructure and strategic targets, with a marked increase after 2022. Western authorities have attributed incidents such as arson, assassinations, explosions, acts of vandalism, and electronic and cyber interference to Russian military and intelligence services, describing them as part of a broader hybrid campaign against countries supporting Ukraine. Moscow has consistently denied responsibility, attributing the incidents to other actors. By 2025, NATO assessed that scale of sabotage threats in Europe as record high, characterizing Russia's subversive activities as a significant security challenge for the continent. Lately, these attacks have escalated. We have witnessed violations of EU airspace by Russian warplanes and balloons from Belarus, airports in many EU states threatened by drones, sabotage of Polish railway, attack drones falling on Romanian ground, and many, many more. All that because we still support Ukraine and because we play a part in the peace negotiations. We must take action. Shoot first, ask later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Protas. Please, you have 1 minute.
Szanowni Państwo, jesteśmy świadkami.
Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we are now facing a new chapter in the hybrid war conducted by Russia against Poland and the entire EU. This new chapter, unfortunately, very much resembles a string of acts of terror that pose a direct threat to the lives and health of our citizens. Those actions are conducted in such a way so as to deter us from further helping Ukraine, to put us against one another. This is a targeted action by Russia because it had its targets back in 2022. Putin wants more strength. We cannot let it happen. What we need is more solidarity when it helps to assisting Ukraine. We need to act together when it comes to intelligence sharing, information sharing in general. We have to do more to protect our borders, invest in the anti-drone wall, and think more about the protection of our strategic infrastructure. Fight disinformation. It's absolutely key. The speaker has been cut off.
I will now give the floor to Mrs. Teodorescu. You have 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Russia is testing us, and it's going to continue to do so as long as we don't have a powerful response to all violations and all attacks. We have to see that the line has already been crossed, that there's not war outside of Ukrainians' territory, but there's not peace either. So what we need is that the rearming has to be sped up. And this discussion of a European nuclear weapon, which compensates for a very even more unreliable U.S. and a weakened NATO, needs to be sped up as well. And we have to take the necessary measures. It's a paradox that the ideal that made it possible for us to have peace since the Second World War is now throwing us into an era of uncertainty and yet another war. We've been pacified to that degree that we have lost our ability to identify existential threats. And by doing so, we've lost our ability to defend ourselves. Peace is not born in fear, but it's born from strength. We have everything to lose. Therefore, we have everything to win as well.
Mr. Masilis, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, President. The Belarusian regime has been conducting hybrid attacks against the EU for a long time. Now we see more sophisticated forms. There is no doubt that Russia is behind these attacks. The migrant push may have subsided, but now in the arsenal we see weather balloons disrupting our civil aviation and an ever-present threat of hostile drones incursions. When we tried closing the border, the regime seized the Lithuanian trucks on its territory. It is even trying to profit from these hybrid operations by charging storage fees for seized trucks. All of this is a blatant, aggressive violation of every imaginable norm and a coercive restriction of our fundamental principle of free movement. It is naive to believe that technical negotiations can fix this, when Minsk is openly demanding diplomatic negotiations, which is out of the question. That's why the only response is tightening our sanctions against both Russia and Belarus. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Masilis, you have a blue card from Mr. Cepeda. Do you wish to take it? Not now. All right. Thank you very much. We are now going to pass to the Catch the Eye, and I will first ask Mr. Cherba, 676.
Szanowna Pani Przewodnicząca.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having organized this debate in the European Parliament, because the situation is dire. It has started with airspace violation over Poland, but in the last weeks and days there are more and more acts of sabotage. These are all acts committed by Russian services. People could have died. A foreign state sent well-prepared saboteurs, and it is by miracle that nobody died. Russia recruits people from other countries as well. This is not just about sabotage. This is something about terror. This time, the last time, it was meant to kill people. But it's not all. It's also massive disinformation, and this is where we have to act. We have to be resilient. We have to look for fact checkers to build our resilience, to only draw information from reliable sources.
127.
Chciałabym się zwrócić tutaj do tych wszystkich osób.
I would like to address myself to all those that only moments ago doubted that Russia is trying to attack Poland, Europe in general. We're talking about a hybrid war. Are you blind? Are you deaf? How many times do we have to quote all of those situations that you've heard about here in this room today? Are you waiting for breaking news? Saying that several dozen of people died because another act of sabotage was committed? Do you really want to start quoting victims? I think we've had enough victims in Ukraine. Our responsibility is to keep on aiding Ukraine, but also helping to promote facts. And that's why I'm addressing myself to all Europeans. Whenever you see, when you are close to a critical infrastructure or even railway, very strange behavior, do call 112 and make sure relevant forces hear about that. It's very important for our safety.
Mrs. Gwiska, 686.
Dziękuję. Thank you. What we are now experiencing from Russia and Lukashenko, Belarus, acts of terror and sabotage is pure terror. We've been warning you for ages now about the possibility that this will come true. Now the security of our borders and citizens is at risk. So I call upon you to start doing what you say you will. First of all, protecting our airspace and those countries that bear the brunt of responsibility in this regard. Also, increase protection for critical infrastructure at the eastern flank, because it's where the European security starts. And last but not least, sanctions against perpetrators, realistic sanctions, because I believe you pay Russia more for the purchases of gas and oil than you do for help in terms of Ukraine. I will be very blunt. You led to this situation, this war. Now you keep on financing Putin. Stop hypocrisy.
525.
Norėjau užduoti klausimą.
I asked several times if I could ask a question to other colleagues, but I was not allowed that. Nobody wanted to answer my questions, probably because they are inconvenient. And my question would be the following. We are not capable of shooting down air balloons. And our newspapers write that our law enforcement officers profit from that smuggling. In Latvia, all the smugglers were arrested. Why not in my country? And we have to ask Lukashenko to set up a high-level working group so that we can resolve this issue. But you don't want that. That's below you. You shouldn't be holier than the Pope. The Pope addressed Lukashenko and he asked Lukashenko to release priests from prison. And he did that. And the USA president also asked Lukashenko to release political prisoners, and he heeded that call. So don't blame others. Think about what you're doing.
Speaker is Mr. Brown, seat 857, please.
Thank you, Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, most honorable colleagues, you are being strongly ill-advised and misinformed here. You are being presented examples of presumed Belarusian, Russian disinformation and terrorist attacks, while, at least in my country, in Poland, the majority of arsonists attacks and other acts of war terror were conducted so far by the persons of Ukrainian origin. And that's official fact. It was confirmed several times. While here you are being constantly misinformed about the nature and origins of dangers. So let's stop warmongering. Let's follow not the path, the war path. Let's follow the path of diplomatic negotiations. One of my colleagues here.
Thank you very much. Catch the eye is 1 minute, and normally I'm quite strict on that. The next speaker will be Mr. Wawrzyniec, seat 754, please.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you very much, Madam President. the organization of those acts of sabotage for critical infrastructure and everything that is related to that, this all can be traced back to Russia. This is crystal clear. Our intelligence services have confirmed that, and we have had this experience for years and years in our history. Please do not disturb me, Mr. Brown. I would like to keep passing on my message. We have heard you, and we have heard from others some lies. We have heard some lies about presumably Ukrainians being those who have organized them. But this is the clear case of misinformation, disinformation, and you are serving Putin himself. This is what he wants.
Mr. Brown, I have to let you know that you have to respect the other colleagues and their right to speak in the chamber without you shouting. Please respect the rules. The next speaker will be, let me see, where are we? It is Mr. Tynkkynen, seat 210, please.
You're welcome. Arvoisa
Madam President, Finland knows how it is to live as Russia's neighbor. We need to be prepared to smaller harassment, and we need to be prepared for activities that may lead to bigger malicious acts in the future. As far as GPS harassment, we must tackle it. Breaches at airspace must be responded to immediately. In the Baltic Sea, when a Russian shadow fleet vessel was cutting sea cables, the Finnish special forces, they landed with ropes from a helicopter to the deck and took over the vessel. We need this kind of initiative also at the legislative level. Finland adopted a strict border law in order to be able to respond to migration waves operated by Russia. This year, Finland decided to ban Russian real estate transactions because we don't want to take that risk. Dear Europe, this is how to fight Russia, not with visual thinking, not with disarmament.
Thank you very much. And the next speaker is Mr. Sieper, seat 841, please.
Thank you, Ms. Vice President. Dear people of Europe, Fidesz, what the hell? Accusing us of hypocrisy because we talk about the hybrid war that Putin and his henchman Lukashenka wage against Europe, and not we talk about the infraction of Greek and Cypriot airspace by Turkey makes no sense of all. I respect the grief of the Cypriots for the situation of their country and the relationship with Turkey, but Turkey is a NATO member, like Greece, and Cyprus is a NATO partner. Turkey is not right now waging a war of aggression against a European nation and is not threatening us with nuclear destruction on a daily basis. This talking point is either uninformed or deliberate Russian propaganda. I get it, being young, being inexperienced in this House, but before you speak, please do your goddamn homework. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the next speaker is Mr. Hetman, seat 490, please.
Dziękuję bardzo, pani przewodnicząca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I am astonished and appalled after the act of sabotage that was organized very close to my hometown, Lublin. We could have had as many as 500,000 victims. So I'm surprised to hear voices both in this room, but also in Poland, in other European states, that say that the war in Ukraine is not our war, that this act of terror could have happened anywhere. It's true that it could have happened in Marseille, in Berlin or Hamburg. Therefore, I would like to call on every citizen to have a pause and reflect. Do you really want to support such politicians? Imagine in this train that could have crashed, killing people, could have included your sisters, brothers, members of family. I'm not even addressing these words to politicians because I know that some of them would see their future sitting on a lap in Putin's house.
Giardi, seat 275, please.
Thank you. I am against, with all my power, against the Russian airspace violations. At the same time, there is hypocrisy in this chamber because we also have airspace violations in Cyprus and Greece by Turkey. A couple of days ago, my group, ECR, asked for a discussion on this issue, whereas all the other political groups did not think it right to talk about the Turkish violations. And to answer to the colleague, yes, 5 days ago, Turkish fighter planes violated the Cypriot airspace. The EU cannot have here two different stances. Security is not up for discussion. Thank you.
Colleagues, and now I will give the floor back to the Commission and to Executive Vice President Mințatu for ending up this debate.
Thank you so much. Europe is beyond any doubt facing a sustained grey zone campaign. We must scale up to deter, we must attribute, and we must act with unity. Our citizens expect us to ensure that every square centimetre of European territory remains protected and remains safe. Hybrid warfare is designed to stretch our systems and to test our unity. We must demonstrate that our resolve is stronger than the pressure that is applied against us. We welcome the European Parliament's clear stance that the EU's response to hybrid attacks must match the intensity, must match the severity of the attacks themselves. This principle of proportionality in deterrence is essential. The message is clear. Europe will not be intimidated. We will defend every part of our union together with unity, with capability, and with determination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Executive Vice President, and the debate is closed. The next item on the agenda is the report by Mr. Reuten and Ms. Caberi, implementation of the EU-UK trade and cooperation agreement. And that also means that we will get a new commissioner in the seat.